Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 16 most blood-curdling, wordless musical murders and massacres. This was something one of you suggested after we did our fabulous video on the 7 most potent musical orgasms. Yes, music can describe anything. And, crime and homicide, things like that, and battles and slaughters and oh my goodness, all that stuff. That's always been a juicy topic for musical description. But you cannot do opera. Opera is banned, absolutely banned. Why? Because, opera is it's obligatory, if it's not a comic opera, that there be some sort of murder or slaying or something in most operas, and composers have never stinted on finding fabulously interesting ways to accomplish the deed. But we're talking about orchestral music or instrumental music which we know what it is. It has a program, so we know what it's trying to do, but it does not have words. So it leaves something to the imagination about exactly how it accomplishes it. And I think that's so much more interesting than just the obvious, I'm now going to stab you here, plonk. You know what I mean? So we may do an opera one, but I have to think of an angle. The moment we're talking about pieces that describe the act of murder or massacre. Oh, and a juicy lot they are, and also fabulously inventive. There's all kinds of ways in which music can do this. I was sort of fascinated putting this list together, so thank you very much for encouraging me to come up with this list. Oh, and one little bit of housekeeping. I sent around a general message about this yesterday, I think it was, or the other day. We have, in addition to the new ClassicsToday.com, a new ClassicsToday.com weekly newsletter. It's free. All you have to do is enter your email address. It's a little form on the bottom of the ClassicsToday.com homepage. Do please subscribe to the newsletter, because not only that will that give us an opportunity to flog you relentlessly to sign up as an insider, but it will give you advance notice and there's all kinds of stuff we're going to be throwing into it. Who knows? But it's handy, and it should be interesting, and we would appreciate it if you would join the mailing list. We do not give your email addresses to anybody else. It's just for the purpose of sending you out notices on a regular basis. So please consider that. It's like I said, it's just a little tiny form where you just put in your name and email address at the bottom of the ClassicsToday.com homepage. So go have a look. It couldn't hurt. Anyway, the 16 most blood-curdling, wordless musical murders and massacres are: number 1, Stravinsky, The Rite of Spring. Of course. Now, blood-curdling is the point here. It's got to be exciting. There's got to be something happening. They can't be like boring murders and massacres. That's the other thing about opera. It's like drink poison and then spend the next 4 acts dying. Come on. Now, there's got to be a moment. And, of course, the moment, The Rite of Spring, is the final dance where the Virgin dances herself to death. It's, you might say that that's more of a suicide than an actual murder or massacre, but it falls within the parameters. And you can do ballets. You can do ballets because they don't have words, so that's okay. And there's plenty of that kind of behavior going on in ballets as well. Next, Berlioz, The March to the Scaffold from the Symphonie fantastique. Isn't that fun? Yeah, that's a guillotining of the hero of the Symphonie fantastique, and it's so graphic. It's amazing, isn't it? You hear a last reminiscence of the idée fixe, and then bam! And then the head falls off, plonk, plonk. It couldn't possibly be more grotesque. It's an absolutely stunning evocation of a guillotining. So that would, of course, have to be on the list. That's a particularly juicy one. Then there's Shostakovich's Symphony Number 11, the year 1905, the second movement, which has it's a massacre. It's the massacre in the Palace Square, and that's a really devastating moment where people were peacefully protesting against the Tsar, and the Tsar ordered his guards to fire on them and kill them all. And the fusillade goes off, and bang, chump, 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 crash of the tam-tam. Oh, wow. It's a really good massacre. Definitely one of the better ones. So there's that one. Next, oh, yeah. This one I really thought was interesting. Saint-Saëns' Phaéton. Remember him? He's zipping around on Apollo's chariot of the sun, and he's getting too close to the earth, and things are starting to singe. And so Zeus takes a look and zaps him with a thunderbolt. How's that for a way to go? And the thunderbolt has never been effectively rendered on record, ever. It drives me crazy listening to this piece because the thunderbolt is always so tepid. And what Saint-Saëns wrote is amazing. It's a triple roll on the timpani. That is 3 timpanis. So you get an actual chord in the timpani, and then bass drums, cymbals, and tam-tam. Pow! And he goes down in a cloud of smoke. You really need to just nail that thing, and no performances do. I don't understand it. But the intent is there, and it's a very exciting moment. It's a wonderful, wonderful way to kill somebody. Then we've got, of course, Bernard Herrmann's Psycho. I mean, it's the iconic slasher scene. I mean, there's nothing like it, and everybody knows it. And I mean, it was just a wonderful, wonderful tribute to Herrmann's genius that he found the exact musical equivalent of how to slash someone to death in a shower, because showering was never the same after Psycho. Absolutely incredible musical and pictorial identity of intent. Just really incredible stuff. And here's one you probably don't think of all that often. There's one later. Wait a minute. Let me stay in order here. Tchaikovsky, Romeo and Juliet. This is a particularly good moment of death thing because it doesn't actually correspond to anything that happens in the play. Tchaikovsky just has both of them dying at the same time. Why? Because it's the death of the love music that he's depicting. There's the battle music and the love music, and they go at it until eventually there's just a triple forte roll on the timpani. Dum, dum, da, 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 pow! And both of them are dead. I mean, it's the death of love that Tchaikovsky is depicting in the form of the characters Romeo and Juliet. And it goes to show how music, especially music without words, differs from the actual play. Because if you do the play or even Prokofiev's ballet or one of those things, the deaths are widely separated in time, and it's not the same thing at all. So it's terrific that Tchaikovsky managed to find a way to do it in sonata form. Let's put it that way. And there's no question what's happening, of course, and we know what the outcome is, and we know what the programmatic intent is, but the actual details follow musical necessity rather than literary, the literary details. Next, oh yes, Florence Schmitt, La Tragédie de Salomé. Hot, heavy, decadent. Oh my goodness. And it ends with everything dying. It ends with a total apocalypse. Salomé and everybody else. They all just are completely and totally crushed and killed and destroyed, and that's that. It's actually very interesting to think about in a purely musical setting where the death occurs. Because technically, the death is the end, right? This is one of those pieces where everything is absolutely destroyed at the end. It's the last note is the last note. Romeo and Juliet, you have a death that occurs, and then there's a coda. And their music has the ability to actually, change its frame of reference, which is really rather cool. Is the story being told from the perspective of the victim, the one doing the dying, or the ones doing the dying, or is it a narrative, a third-person narrative that has room for some sort of wrap-up or commentary? I noticed this, concept really very graphically in listening to Mahler's symphonies, because as I pointed out previously in connection with Mahler's Ninth, that is the only Mahler symphony that actually has a death, and it happens on the last note of the piece, because there can't be any music after the subject is dead if the subject is making the music. Some people talk about, Mahler's Sixth. I mean, I'm sure that'll come up here. You can't use Mahler's Sixth because, if you put back the third hammer blow, the reason Mahler deleted the third hammer blow is because after the hero dies, the music isn't about the hero. It's about fate. So fate does its thing. And that third hammer blow, there would have been nothing afterwards. It just would have ended with ka-chunk. And it doesn't. It just continues on. So we're talking about different frames of reference and narrative structures within the body of theoretically abstract orchestral music, which is absolutely fascinating topic in my view. Anyway, so Schmitt's La Tragédie de Salomé raises that issue. Also, Strauss, Till Eulenspiegel's Merry Pranks, because the end is Till Eulenspiegel's merry trial and happy hanging. He gets strung up by a D clarinet, But of course, there's then a whole, jolly coda, because his hanging is really just a happy, wacky little moment in the course of the piece, cartoonish, but it's a pretty graphic and effective murder. I mean, it really is. Trial, judgment, and hanging. Then there's Liszt's Hunnenschlacht. I love Hunnenschlacht. I just love the title. It's, often translated as the Battle of the Huns. But that's what it is. It's Attila the Hun versus the Romans. And, the Huns are represented by Hungarian music and the Romans by the Gregorian chant Crux Fidelis, I believe, which is what wins in the end. But the central battle is juicy and very graphic. Rumor has it that the actual battle that's being depicted was so violent that the participants, the two opposing armies, were continued to fight even after their death, as their souls ascended to the heavens. If that's where their souls were going, which is pushing it, but still, the Battle of the Huns is just a fun massacre piece. Everyone likes a good massacre once in a while. I mean, they're just exciting. Now, here's a really, really weird one that you may not think of all the time. Respighi, the Ballad of the Gnomes. It's Ballata della Gnomidi. This is a really weird little symphonic poem. It's fun. It's like 15 minutes long, that he wrote in between the pines and fountains of Rome. So he was on top form at the time. It's based on a grotesque poem that involves two little lady gnomes. Are little, they're little critters. Two icky little lady gnomes who there's this gnomic ritual. They grab a male gnome and force him to impregnate them or have sex with them somehow. Then they decapitate him and they drag his body to a cliff and haul it off. And then all the little lady gnomes have a maniacal dance of ha-ha. That's the story. And it's very, very graphically depicted, particularly the death of little gnome. Now, he's a squealer. This is not a death scene about, he's a critter. And his death sounds a little bit like a proto-anticipation of Herrmann's shower scene. High, squeaky, screechy violins, but it's very gruesome. Very, very gruesome. And Respighi orchestrates, of course, with absolutely malicious glee. It's just Marvelous. That's a piece for you to sample. If you don't know it, give it a shot. Then we do have Prokofiev's Romeo and Juliet, but not Romeo or Juliet. It's the death of Tybalt. Oh, what a great death scene that is, isn't it? First, you've got the sword fight. The strings, rushing up and down all over the place. Right? And then Tybalt gets gored, and you've got those stunning chords. Jump, 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 jump. There's like, I don't know, a whole 14 of them or something, a lot of them. And then a really coruscating, that's the word. It's a coruscating orchestral postlude with the horns blasting. And I think it's the end of the first act, actually. But wow, what a piece of writing that is. One of the great fight, murder, death things in all of music. It's just phenomenal. And speaking of murder ballets, how about Richard Rodgers' Slaughter on 10th Avenue? That one's fun. It's actually a fun story. It's from the musical On Your Toes, and it's the first Broadway musical. It's written in the 30s. It's Rodgers and Hart actually was the actual musical, in which ballet is integral to the plot of the musical, and it tells the story, the ballet, the story within a story. There's a boss who is in love with a stripper, and the stripper is in love with a hoofer being a male dancer, and the big boss wants to kill the hoofer. Well, he catches them in a tryst, and so he wants to murder them both, and he murders the stripper, and then the hoofer murders the big boss, and the idea is that the big boss has arranged for a couple of thugs to kill the hoofer after his last dance, but he finds out about it. Actually, he's alerted by like the corpse of the dead stripper. It's a little complicated, but the bottom line is he knows they're out to get him, and calls the cops, and he just keeps dancing until the cops arrive. And then he collapses in exhaustion. That's the story. And it's really a wonderful, it's a 10-minute ballet. It's a major piece, and it's jazzy and it's fun, and you can definitely hear, there's a good tam-tam whack when one of them gets it. And, it's terrific. So Balanchine was the choreographer originally, which is even more fabulous. So that's something to listen to. Richard Rodgers doesn't usually appear in classical music lists, although of course he deserves to. He certainly deserves to. And Slaughter on 10th Avenue is a little masterpiece of American dance theater. Then Smetana, Šarka. Yeah, Šarka. She's an Amazon. It's a great name for an Amazon. Šarka, like shark, right? Well, it means nothing like that, of course, in Czech, but it works in English. That's the typical story of the Amazon leader who falls in love with a guy, God forbid, and they have this big, yummy love scene. It's a gorgeous love scene. And then, the Amazons, wake up and kill everybody, all the men. There's this big slaughter at the end. Cha 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 da 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 da. Oh, it's really brutal, violent, and it gets more. Okay, hello, Finster. Sit. You heard me. Sit. Thank you. And it gets more and more frenetic as it goes, and it's just bloodthirstily terrific. Šarka, of course, is part of Smetana's Ma Vlast. It's the third tone poem out of 6, and people don't know it at all well. And it's really an exciting piece of music. It's marvelous, absolutely marvelous. Now, the next one is not a massacre in the traditional sense, because we don't know who's getting massacred, but it's another one of those apocalyptic, everybody dies in the end pieces. It's Ravel's La Valse. Now, Ravel, of course, insisted that this was supposed to depict a glittering Viennese ball in the 19th century, but he wrote it, in the wake of World War I, and, who was he kidding, right? I mean, it's just basically the total nuclear detonation. Well, there weren't nuclear detonations then, but it was the total apocalypse of like Western civilization as symbolized by La Valse. So it's not a person. Hi, here. Wait a minute, we can do this a little bit. There we go. Hey, it's not a person who gets it. It's just everyone and everything, and there's no other possible interpretation. You know, the whole piece just self-destructs, and so I think it's fair to include it for that reason. And then we've got two Czech masterpieces to wrap it up. First, Janacek, Taras Bulba. Well, you get 3 for the price of 1. I mean, every single one of these things is a death. You know, Taras Bulba's 2 sons get nailed in the first 2 movements, and the Bulba himself gets it in the third. And oh, it's brilliantly exciting. You know, the first movement is a love thing between, you know, what are they, Andre and Ostap and Taras Bulba or something. But he's having a love affair with the enemy girl, and Taras Bulba kills him in battle. Ha 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 ha. Then in the second movement, I think it's Ostap, he's caught by the other side, whoever they are, and they're Polish because they dance a mazurka, and they all do the mazurka, and then they kill him, and he's also like Till Eulenspiegel. He's a clarinet as he gets killed, rather gruesome fashion. And then in the finale, Taras Bulba himself gets it, almost like Tybalt does, with stomping, thumping timpani. What are you nibbling on? Stop that. She never lets up. It's one thing I'll say about cats. They are the most patient and persistent creatures in the world. It's incredible, aren't you? Yeah. So anyway, so Taras Bulba is fabulous. I mean, you get 3 interesting deaths in 3 fun ways. I mean, you've got a battle, you've got a torture and hanging, and then you've got Taras Bulba himself. It's not really clear exactly how he gets it, but get it he does, and you know exactly when. And then, of course, there's that whole glorious apotheosis at the end. Yes, it's an apotheosis. You don't care about the apotheosis. Okay, fine. And finally, Dvorak, the water goblin. Everybody thinks Dvorak is such a nice guy, but these 4-tone poems, the 4-tone poems on Czech folk tunes, are grisly. They all involve some sort of horrible death, murder, suicide. You know, it's all in there. But the most fun of the 4 is the water goblin, I think, because at the climax of the water goblin, the baby goblin is decapitated and tossed on the doorstep of the baby goblin's mother by the angry water goblin, who is annoyed that the woman that he kidnapped and raped doesn't want to come home. Like, why wouldn't she want to come home? What could be more fun than living underwater with your baby goblin and the water goblin? Anyway, the baby goblin gets it, and it's gruesome. It's absolutely gruesome and musically fabulous. The more gruesome it is, the more musically marvelous it becomes. So there you have it. 16 fantastic murders and massacres in instrumental music. And I'm sure I've left out all kinds of similar ones, so please feel free to contribute your list, your favorites. Now, you can go up to 16, you can keep it reasonable, less than 16, and contribute anything you think I might have left out. It's entirely up to you, but remember, no words, and make it gruesome. You want the good ones, not your ordinary namby-pamby murder type thing. We want like serious musical passion and intensity and imaginative exploitation of timbre and all of that good stuff. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. You're done? Are you done? Yes, you're done. She's done. Hang on. Or we can say goodbye together. Come here. Yeah. Okay. Thanks for joining me, and take care. Let's see if I can find how to get out of this thing. Oh, there we go. Take care.